The following presentation is a gift from the team at Streamline Publishing, publishers of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and weekly newsletters Fine Art Today, Realism Today, Plein Air Today, and American Watercolor, and events, the Plein Air Convention and the Figurative Art Convention. We offer over 400 different art instruction tutorials and ultra high-quality video by the world's leading artists. If you like what you see, help us support our artists and our team with your purchase. Each video aired has a special discount code for today only in the comments section with a link to the video offered. And to see everything we do, or if you want to receive notice of new releases, new products, and new events for artists, simply click the other link, which says, "See everything we do." Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air Magazine. I'm here in my studio in Austin, Texas today. Every day at 3 p.m. we're giving you art instruction video samples of the many hundreds that we've produced over the years. Today is no exception, except the difference is today is a brand new release, just came out today. It's called Impressionistic Brushwork, and it's with Debra Huse. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm Debra Huse, and I want to welcome you to Balboa Island, California. I'm at the Huse Gallery on Balboa Island. We love it here. And we're going to do something really fun today. I can't wait. We're going to share all sorts of tips and tricks and techniques. And I want to make it fun for you to learn. I'm going to share all of my easy ways to get the painting done and enjoy the process. I travel around the country and do some plein air events pretty much all over, and some in Europe also, which I'm very lucky to be able to do. And so today we're going to be painting this great location from Easton, Maryland. It's one of my favorite old shipyards. I love the old shipyards. There's so much history in these old boats, the wooden boats. And this particular shipyard is called Cuts and Case. And they actually have been building boats for probably at least 200 years. So it's a real treat to get to paint on location there, and I hope you'll enjoy this scene. While it's rather complicated, I'm going to make some changes. It will make it more interesting, and I'm going to show you how to think through all the hard parts and try to make it easier. Okay, let's get started, and let me tell you about some of the tools that I like to use. I have, right off the bat, my favorite Edge Pro gear. This is the palette that I use where I travel all over the world and also even in my studio. This is a medium-sized one called the Passport. It's got a nice gray panel. It's got magnets to hold. It holds my painting on with slides and magnets. Has magnets for shelves. All sorts of neat things about these. They're lightweight. They stick right into my backpack. Easy. The tripod, we have some from Edge Pro Gear. And actually, if you go to my website at debrahuse.com and you look up the art supplies page, it has some coupons, so you can save money when you get your Edge Pro. I also have a special brush box that I'm having made by Edge Pro right now. And this is one I had made special for me to travel. Carries my brushes, it folds up. It sits right on my tripod for a shelf. And so hopefully we'll be able to get those pretty soon from the Edge Pro company to match your Edge Pro when you travel. I've got my terp container that locks down so it can't spill. Oh, and I've got a whole handful of rosemary brushes. Now, rosemary brushes, these are made in England. This is the Ivory line, which I love because it's bouncy. It's a synthetic bristle, and it's bouncy and not too stiff and not too soft. So it's just perfect. They do have a couple of Debra Huse signature lines that you can order from Rosemary, or you can get on my Paint Like a Pro website, which is paintlikeapro.us. That's our teaching website. We have a bunch of videos kind of like this one, shorter. And so we have that. I've got my special rigger brushes too that I have Rosemary make for me, and these are cut special. They're the long bristle, but they're cut square at the top so that they make these beautiful marks for rigging and all sorts of detail in the water. And we'll use it a lot here for the boat yard, the shipyard. I have here also, oh boy, I want to share with you my paint. This is a series called Huse, and it's a line that I developed because I was teaching classes for 20 years and I was always mixing a purple, a red, orange, and a super dark green on my palette. I couldn't find these in any of the other lines on the market, so I had my students mix them and take them home in tubes, and now I have them made for me so that we can always have the tubes to just squirt out whenever necessary. This Marine Violet, Signal Flag Red, and Anchor Green. Those are on the paintlikeapro.us site too, if you want to try them out. I have a scraper here to keep the palette nice and clean. And let's look at some of the colors I have on my palette. I have titanium white or zinc white. I like, a lot of the lines are really nice just so that they're not too soft. The white isn't too soft. I like it to be thicker and not too buttery, because sometimes it gets a little slippery. I have Cad Yellow Lemon here, and then I squirted out a second pile of Cad Yellow Lemon that I wanted to use some of this Quinacridone Red up here and mix myself an orange. And I would like it to be right in between the yellow and the Signal Flag Red as far as value and color. And this makes it really handy so that you have it always just mixable from your tubes that you already have. So this is the Signal Flag Red right here, which I use all the time. I put it into clouds. I put it into, well, we're going to paint a red building today, so we'll be using a lot of the Signal Flag Red. It's got a little bit of white mixed into it so that it pops a little better than most of the reds right out of the tube. And it's not too wild. It's made from yellow and Quinacridone Red, which is a clean magenta color, super, super clean. And so it works, it's a workhorse for me. I use it all the time. This is Raw Sienna. Here we have Alizarin Crimson, Ultramarine, right here, oh, we're back to my fave, which is the Marine Violet. I use Marine Violet for like, if you're doing rocks, the rocks in the foreground might be brown, and then the rocks in the middle ground and distance probably go to purple. And distant landmass, I use it in the water. There's a lot of times where the water levels off because of the clouds reflecting to the water. It looks very violetish. And this is a nice purple that doesn't go pink. It doesn't go toward red violet too much because it's mostly blue. So it's super handy. I use it in my clouds, I use it in my sky. So try it out. Here we have the Ultramarine Blue, Viridian Green, which is really terrific as far as sky, and I use it in the water. I don't use it that much in trees and grass. Instead, I use this Anchor Green, and this is my Anchor Green right here. It's a super dark, transparent green. It's great for scrubbing in trees and getting the darks in nice and thin, and it's a warm, transparent, it's so pretty. This is a Chromatic Black from Gamblin. I like it because it's a transparent black, and it mixes beautifully into Viridian Blue and the red to make them a little bit darker. So if you need them just a hair darker, this works beautifully. Then if you mix white with the Chromatic Black, it's a total cool gray. It's a beautiful color. Actually, this gray down here is a similar color, a blue gray. So you can see the difference. This is a Portland gray from Gamblin. It's a dark value. A cool gray, a warm gray. Now the cool gray you can mix from black and white and blue if you want. The warm gray you can mix from black and white and a little bit of Signal Flag Red really easily. And then I have just a light gray here. Sometimes that comes in super handy for clouds or sky instead of going toward a warm white. If I want a cooler white, then this is it. So that covers just about everything. I have a small palette knife that you saw that I was mixing my orange with. This is really handy to use. It's a small one, so it works well on a small palette, but I can get big piles in a small space, which is really, really great. I have a backpack, all this stuff fits right in it, no problem, and off we go. So let's talk about our subject. This is the greatest little location hiding in Oxford, Maryland. I love to paint at this shipyard. This is the side where they usually pull a boat out of the water and work on a boat. But this particular day I got there and there was no boat out of the water. And I decided that the building itself was super cool and that I would paint that. In the photo you can see there's a mess of boats in the background here that we're going to simplify really easily. And we're going to focus on our building. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line here that's going to make the building just half in shadow, half in sun, which will really make for an interesting aspect to the painting. I've marked my canvas in thirds that you can see right here. And where these thirds intersect on the lower right, I've got the worker, the woodworker guy that keeps going out on the dock. He was going back and forth the whole time I was painting this on location the first time. I've got a life preserver that I moved from over here to right here near my focal point. I have a couple of windows. There'll be design elements. So right here, there is, you can see in the photograph, there's a piece of like a different color of corrugated aluminum, I think is what it is. Instead of leaving that just plain, I'm taking the name of the shipyard and I'm going to go ahead, which it's on the side that we can't see. I'm going to move it around to this side and I'm going to put it right here. So what I'll be doing is drawing in the words cuts and case. C-U-T-T-S and then an ampersand and then C-A-S-E. So it's a historic shipyard. I think adding lettering to a painting oftentimes gives it so much character. And when I'm in Sonoma and I was painting an old market, I go ahead and add the word Sonoma onto the market and then I deconstruct it and make it look old-fashioned like it's been there forever. And even the people that live there didn't even notice that I had added that, but it adds a whole lot to the scene. So you'll be getting a whole lesson on lettering, which would be really fun. There's a lot to learn about that. And then we have the corrugated aluminum that'll be half in sun and half in shade. So there's a lot to discuss and a lot of design aspects. I did include a couple of big pilings here so that this whole area will be a fun focal area to concentrate on, and then the rest will be super interesting. So we're gonna have a great time. So I was about to start with scrubbing in the darks. That's where I always start on my paintings, but I'm looking at this. I haven't done the lettering yet, so let's go ahead and draw that in first. I want to make sure that my brush has a little teeny moisture on it, but I don't want it to be runny. I just want to make sure it's not too stiff. So I like to do the lettering all square. So this is actually a C and a U, and then I'll do a couple of T's. And so that way we almost work like in negative spaces when I start to paint the actual letters. You'll see C-U-T-T-S. So the S is simple. Just kind of get the whole square aspect going. See, like that. There's your S. So the T's are a little big, but we can fix that. Cuts and Case is the name of the location, the shipyard. I'll just put what might be an ampersand here. And then, luckily I haven't run out of room for the word case. So if you ever run out of room, you have to erase it. You have to start in the middle and work out. That's the best way to do lettering so that you make sure you don't run out of room. So I'm going to do C-A-S-E. So I just have a square. My brush is a little dry. C basically is right here. And then A, and then S is going to be here with two negative spaces. And then the E, again, I just think of it in negative spaces. So you can see how square it can simply look. So when we go start working on the lettering, we'll really get into it. But half of the lettering, I'd like to draw this line in here. Brushes. My paint is a little dry, that must be it. So what I'm going to do is just manufacture the lighting so that we have half shadow, half sun. So this whole side will be in sun and this whole side will be in shade. And it'll be really fun to paint. So let's start with just the darks. Okay. I like to scrub in my darks with short flats. These are rosemary brushes, short flats. And they work great to scrub in the darks. You have to just get the paint on there and move it around. And I'm going to go ahead and use Marine Violet with a little bit of raw sienna. It's going to make a nice dark brown and a little bit of red. Kind of makes a nice dark brown. And that, I'm going to just get this going right here. Put that on the side. This is actually a little dock, and there'll be water down in between the side of the dock, and this is the base of 2 pilings. The pilings will be a dark green, and the sun is coming from the top left, so we can go ahead and, well, I shouldn't even use any white. I'll just use just the dark green and get some dark green here on the side of these pilings. Just scrubbed in real thin. Then I'm going to have a lot of grasses here, and maybe a bush to kind of finish off this corner. There was a lot of different things in the boatyard there that I didn't really want to include, so I like to just add some greenery. So we're going to scrub in some dark green, and guess what? Green is the opposite of red, so it's a nice complement to our red building. So we'll be using that to our advantage. So go ahead and grab a bunch of the anchor green and scrub it around. You see how when I'm scrubbing, I let it be messy and I don't pick the brush up from the surface. I just keep moving the paint around and make just a big, nice shape with transparent. So when you scrub into the canvas, oh, this is a linen panel, by the way, and it's on gator foam. And I order mine from New Traditions Art Panels, but you can get them all over the place. Just don't get canvas panels, get linen surface. This is a primed linen. I use number C13, which is a portrait grade linen actually, because I love the texture of it. It grabs my paint and my brushes just right, and it just feels great to paint on. Plus it's slippery enough so that when you scrub in different areas, it's really easy to do, and it's very fun. So you can just kind of get going. We'll figure out how to completely solve this later, but it's got a ramp that'll go behind here. Some of the grasses will stay in the shadow. This might be a bush with some flowers, who knows what we'll do there. And then there's actually water right here. And this grass actually did come right up to the edge of the water, which was pretty cool. So we can start with just that for the darks for there. I'll go back to my purple and get part of my ramp that's going to be going down this way. And then I think we should probably scrub in this whole dark side of the building. Let's do that. I'll use this big brush. This is going to be more of a viridian color up here. It's corrugated metal, and we'll make it grayish, but since green and red are complements, I'll be trying to use reds and greens to show each other off during the process of the painting. So I might just go ahead for starters, and sometimes I like to wet my brush just the teeniest bit. You don't want it to be runny, and I want it to still stay nice and dark. So see how I'm holding my brush too. You want to hold your brush at the end of the handle so that you have a lot of variety of different directions you can go with that brush. You don't want to hold it like a pencil, because that's really hard to paint that way. You should be kind of moving from your shoulder and painting with a freeness to your brushwork. So if I think that needs to be a little darker, I could just add some of my Chromatic Black to it. And I like the scrub in to be a little bit messy. I think that's fun that way. All right. So we'll pretend that this is a sign. It's just a different color on the building. I don't know why they have two colors on the side of the building, but this is like a dark raw sienna. So I'll go ahead and use that color. I'm going to just take my raw sienna with a small brush, go around my letters and scrub this in too, around my letters, just doing the negative spaces. And that makes it really easy to get lettering in. I don't want it to be too thick yet, so just pushing it in the surface here. Sometimes I use the side of the brush. Get a variation of brush strokes. See how I kind of like it to just stay messy like that. If I go over some of it, which I will, I like to be able to see the initial scrub in some places, because I think it's exciting to see. If you love painting, you like seeing that kind of stuff. So here's CASE. Let's go on either side of it. All right, there we go. Get that, so that I've got my CASE there. Now I just have to go in and find the little negative spaces. So there's C, A, and then S has this and this in there. And then the E, simply like this. And there you have some lettering, and it's very simple to do. So keep everything square when you're doing letters and numbers in a painting. It just makes it really easy. You don't want to add it at the end. You want to start in the very beginning with your lettering and work from the inside out, work with the negative spaces. If you lay it on top just with a brush, it looks silly. It doesn't set into the painting. And so this will look a lot more authentic and give you a real sense for the lettering on the building. And then let's go to the red. Okay, I'm just using my brush that already had the Viridian on it, and I'm going to scrub in the red. I think as simple as with this alizarin, might be too bright. I don't know, it's pretty. But let's just change it as it goes to the right. We'll just change it. See how this Viridian is a beautiful transparent color? And I'm sorry, Viridian is a transparent color up here, and so is this alizarin crimson. And so when you scrub them into the surface of the canvas, it lets the canvas glow a little bit, makes your darks more beautiful instead of being too heavy. So we want to just scrub this in. Oh, this is a ladder, I recall. So we'll have to be sure and get this ladder in here and the little negative spaces in between. I should probably get that in right now before I forget. The ladder, I'll just go ahead and put it in with raw sienna. Raw sienna. This is going to be a ladder that'll be half in the sun. I'll make it come out to here. It'll be a good balance, so it's in between there. And half in the shade. Okay, so I'm over here on my brush with the alizarin crimson. It's really fun to scrub in color. It's so pretty. So you have to get enough paint on there you can push it around so there's some dark and light passages. And you can see how pretty it is. God, it's just beautiful. Okay, so as it comes down here, as it goes the rest of the way, I think I'm going to either add some marine violet to it, some black to it, so it gets just a little darker. Okay, so this is an opaque color. You can see how the raw sienna is an opaque color. And these are transparent. I hope you can see that. They have whole different qualities to them, which is really neat. So I think I'll use a little of the Chromatic Black since I know it's really transparent, just like the alizarin crimson is. And see how it makes it just that little bit more dark value and very rich. It's a beautiful red wine color. If we were doing a still life red wine, this would be it. Both of them would be it. All right. Okay, let's take my smaller brush and get some dark paint on it so we can get in between these rungs here that I haven't drawn in yet. It'd be easier if I had had them drawn in. So I'm just winging it for the, just so I get the idea of the ladder. I don't forget that it's there. And then we'll go around, oops, go around my greenery. So we'll figure this part out a little later. And I want to get in, let's have the ladder end here. Let's have it end like maybe here. All right, that looks good. So I think while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and just take my brush. I didn't even really have to clean it. I'm just adding some raw sienna onto here to give us something that looks like the rungs of our ladder. And it's okay if it kind of starts to disappear in there because it's in the shade. This is a yellow ladder. There we go. Let's see, that looks pretty good. Now I know that around my guy, so I think I'm going to have a white shirt on my guy and blue jeans, and he's carrying one of those red toolboxes, which would be really cool too. So I might as well just put a little bit of dark red here for him. And I think I'll just go ahead and put a red hat on him so I remember his hat's going to be red. We'll fix that with the background color. I like to get my window in. My window, I'll just do, oh, I was going to do marine violet, but I might just put that in Viridian too. That's a great idea. Brilliant. A stroke of genius at the last minute. Okay, so that'll be nice. Now over here, because it's in the sun, we're going to end up adding light to that. But I'll just put it in dark for now to remind me that's a dark window. Even though this isn't considered a total dark, let's just go with my number 2 long flat. I'm going to take marine violet and a little white, because guess what? If this is white around the window, in the sun it looks white, whitish, warm, but in the shade, it's this marine violet works perfect for what color is white in the shadow. So I'm going to just go around this window with the marine violet for the white in the shade for this window. There we go. And there'll be a little bit of shadow here. So we want the lights and the shadows to line up. And then if our lettering is white, we're going to want to put case also in marine violet. I'm going to fill this in too right here. So let's do that. The lettering is definitely white. So I'll take the marine violet, I'll get all my shadow stuff in. So I'm going to go right into here with my lettering. And we just get the basics in, you know, and then we can go around it all a little bit again later on with some of the background color. And we'll do some, you know, just some finishing on it. But I don't want it to be too pretty. I want it to look old. So in the end, it will look old. See, I missed a little spot there, so that's okay. I can fix that. What color is white in the shade? It's this color. Another beautiful secret for marine violet is what color is white in the shadow? It's marine violet with white to take you to this color. All right, here we go. This number 2 long flat comes in perfect for this job. So when I'm painting in the studio or painting on location, I don't fuss too much over anything. That's my F word, no fussing or futzing. And just get the basics in so you can get going over the whole painting to start having it come together. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of different little nuances that we will want as we get further into the painting. So I'm just softening that edge. The same here, just mess this up a little bit. Okay, so him, real quick, let's go ahead and give him some blue jeans. Now the sun is over here, so the front of his pants will be in shadow. And actually the front of his shirt, if I do end up leaving it white, is going to be marine violet because it'll be white in the shade. So let's just see about putting his long sleeve t-shirt in shade. And then we'll add light onto that side of him. And I'm just picking up some marine violet because I remember in our photo something right here is really dark. Maybe I'll use the anchor green. I might just get in this dark part of this one boat that was back here, I remember, which is a nice foil to keep our center of focus on the focal guy, which is our star of the show, the worker. And he'll end up having a lot of light on him here pretty soon. I'll just block in a nice dark shape for him. Okay, so I think we've got the general start of all the darks. He's going to have a shadow. Let's see if the sun's going this way. His shadow will probably come out this way. I'm just going to add a few shadows that I know will be here. A shadow around this. A shadow underneath here. A shadow underneath this tin roof, which is a real dark. I remember it was right here. And maybe just a few more notes of nice real dark in this area. Okay. So the water here is probably a little dark on this part, and then in the middle there it's going to be a lighter value. So I'm just going to put a little bit of bluish gray in here. And I could always change that value a little bit if I want. And then from there, this is all going to be grays, and this is all going to be a pop of color. So I think we're about good to go. I'm just going to get rid of this bottom of this building. We'll figure this out later. The ramp, all this will be in sun, and we're ready to go to our middle values. Okay, so we got our darks in, and now we need to really talk about how we're going to finish out the rest of the colors and the rest of the values. Value is so important. And one fun thing about this scene is when I was there, it was so complicated. There's all these boats back here. I didn't know what to do with them at first. But once I realized I could let all of this be grays and all of this be color, then that was one tool that I could use to help them be not so important over here, and allowed me to not look at a boat and try to paint that boat. I'm just painting background atmosphere over here. The star of my show is this building and this worker bee, the guy that builds the boats. I'll lay in the sunny side of the building, lay in some water, lay in the dock, lay in all of our stuff back here. And then when we go to finish, after we get the big pieces laid in, we'll be able to really highlight some mass, and it'll look great. Okay, so I'm going to work on the sunny part of my roof, the sunny part of my sign, the sunny part of my building first, because those are easiest to attack. And so that's what we'll do. What I'd like to do is go ahead and put in my light preserver and my lettering first, so I can go around the lettering, around the light preserver, and around the ladder and the frame of the window. So let's do that first. I'll get out my number 2 long flat. Oh, it's in my hand. Okay, so let's go ahead and mix up a white. What I'd like to show you is white in the sun. White in the sun is really just a warm white. And oftentimes I like to just use a little teeny bit of either orange or my signal flag red to warm up my white. Because I don't really like the white to be yellow. So I'm going to just have a nice white, there's a nice white strip right here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And it will help draw us to the focal point. So all of my whites are going to be right here by my guy, And right here on this part of the building is a focal point. So we got that already. Now I'm going to go around and do my light preserver. You can make the light preserver yellow or orange, I suppose, if you want. This one was a white one. I'll just leave it white. Since our building's red, kind of got a lot of color. So then we'll do cuts, the C-U-T-T in white. So I can go around it with the sunny part of the yellow. C-U-T, so half of the T is in sun and half of the T is in shade. So same with this window trim, half is in sun, half is in shadow. So just take a little bit of the white, warm it up with orange or red orange, just ever so slightly, mix it up really good, pick it up on your brush and set it down, nice and thick. Now if you get some paint, dirty paint on your brush, you just want to wipe it onto your tissue and get some clean paint and finish that out. So this is half in sunlight and half in shadow. You can see the marine violet that we already added to the white trim of the window. Let's go to the yellow ladder. Gosh, dying to get to that. I could just use the orange. The orange is going to look beautiful, like a really sunny yellow. And so I'm just going to go ahead and add that yellow right here with a light touch. Just set it right on top. And then add some more rungs. There we go. That should do the trick. Now, the yellow that's in the sun up here, that part of the actual signage, I like to add a little bit of raw sienna and orange and white and mix that all together for my sunny yellow up here so that it's not too wild. You really don't want to paint just bright yellow with that lemon yellow and white. Unless you're painting the sparkle in water, you really want to stay away from that yellow. It's meant to make other colors more brilliant, but you don't want to use it by itself. It's just too wild. It's a wild child. So we're going to go ahead and just go around our lettering. See how you can just get some nice thick paint on that brush, scoop it up and lay it down all the way around the lettering. I like to just pick it right up and set it on there thick. There we go. That's looking pretty happy. If you want to add just a little bit more orange to part of it, just to really pop it, you can. Or maybe to this edge. It's kind of pretty. Now the building is red and the roof is green. So we're going to be using a Viridian. Let's do the roof right now. So I'm just going to block in the color part and the value part. And then later we're going to add a little bit of texture to it and detail to it when we're wrapping up, pulling everything together. So I'll go into my Viridian. I've got a pretty big brush, a number 8 probably. And I want to make sure that I've got just a little teeny bit of yellow into this green because it makes it really shimmery. And it makes a great green in the sun. And it's going to be very complementary to our red building. So try not to go over any brushwork. Just pick up the thick paint and set it down and leave it alone. All right? No fussing. No futzing. Okay. We'll grab a little more, mix it up. A little more Viridian. A teeny bit of that lemon yellow mixed in there gives it a really beautiful shimmer. Okay. So that is lovely. Even though I had a little mistake there, a little change of color, I leave it. I think it looks really great. All right, so let's go on to the red. Everybody loves red. I like to try to use my tissue only once and then throw it away. Sometimes I forget and I keep using it, and sure enough, I get paint all over my hands. So just warning you, better off to just use one tissue and get rid of it. I'm going to go ahead and put a few dark lines in there. I see in my photo there's some beautiful textures in this red building. And I want to make sure I don't lose track of these shadow lines, basically, because I'm going to put the sunny part on there. And I want to make sure they're dark enough. So there's like, I wish that didn't have a tangent right there. So I might cut off my ladder a little bit before that tangent. And then there'll probably be another line right here. So there's some really nice Looks like, you know, just woodworking done on this old building. It's super cool. So now we can add the red, the lighter value. I'm going to get my brush just slightly wet, and I'm going to take some white, a big pile with my signal flag red, and lots of signal flag red because it's such a beautiful, beautiful red. And it will work just great here as red in the sun. Look at this, works perfect. And you can just set down some nice thick brushwork, pick up that paint, and lay it down and leave it alone. So pick it up nice and thick and just set it in there and let it roll. I should have a shadow underneath this ladder. I'll have to add that. Okay, this is such a neat color. Now I might even liven it up a little more with some red. Ooh, look at that. I just added a little bit of that permanent rose into it with my orange and white and really got it super punchy. The only thing is, you know, this is a faded out building, so I have to make sure I don't overdo it with the color. I can always lay a little bit of grays on top of it to tone it down a little bit if I need to. There we go. Nice thick paint. I love it. Okay. So just get these last little parts. See, I just picked up a little orange in my brush and I think it looks cool. I'm not going to worry about making it all too uniform. It's not a biggie. And go around my little life preserver there. So that's a good start for our red in the shade and red in the sun. So after we go a little further with our big shapes, I'll probably add a little bit of actual paint on top of my scrub-ins. I like to do that after I get the dark paint scrubbed in. I like to go ahead and add some different tones on top with a light touch. And the way I'd like to think about all this background is going to have to be mostly out of my gray pile. So let's get the foreground done first. So what I'd like to do is probably get some color of some water down here just for fun. It's a little bit wild. That's better. This is a very colorful location. And actually the people are just as colorful. It's a great place to be. So we'll just lay in some water here. So I can always adjust this later. Oh, I see. I wanted to get the sunny part of the piling in real quick. So I'm just going to take some of my transparent green, anchor green, and a little signal flag red and mix it together to get a green. There, it has to have enough red in it so that it looks almost brown. That's maybe a little dark. Let's see. Come on. A little orange. There we go. Get that on just, oh, that's perfect. So that'll work great. All right. So that's coming along great. Let's get our dock in. I want the dock to be basically just raw sienna with some white. Get that laid in. Now, see how I don't want this to be too light in value. You don't want the light on the dock or anything else to be as light as our whites in the sunlight. So we have to make sure to balance our values. Let's get in there. And, ooh, I have to put the white on his shirt before I forget too. Don't know if I have a clean brush. Let's see, here's a clean brush. Just get I'm going to use mostly white with a little bit of orange this time and just get a little bit of white on his shirt right here. And maybe the back of that arm. And I also want to get his hat. Let's get his hat in there. Little teeny bit of this bright red on the back of his hat. And then we'll go around all that later with the background. Okay, now I just want to quickly mass in these areas so I can start to get some values going with. I'll need some anchor or some marine violet back here, some of the boats in shadow back here. These are basically, this is just a whole basin full of boats that they're working on and that they've got docked right here. There's going to be a lot of mass and things like that going on. We're mostly going to be using grays back here. We'll pretend like that's a sail cover. And I'm just going to basically get this roughed in. Now this is a distant building. Let's just use my marine violet for that right now too, just for the heck of it. So we can get it in and then we can adjust it later. So let's use that to go around this guy's hat. Okay, so the building kind of has to end because now I'm competing with his shirt. So I probably needed to go a little bit more on the gray side back there. But let's... Hi, I'm Debra Huse and welcome to my workshop. In this workshop, we're going to have a great time. We're going to learn all sorts of really fun techniques and take it easy and get loose with the paint and learn design first and foremost and talk in depth about that. Then I'll show you how I like to scrub in my darks with a short flat brush. Then we'll switch to the long flat. I'll show you how I like to lay my paint on nice and thick and juicy and fill in all of the colors and values, all the big pieces, but with strategy. So you really think about what we're doing. And then in the end, we'll pull it together with my special secret rigger brush. It'll be really fun. This workshop will be perfect for you if you're a beginner. You're going to learn some really new techniques right off the bat. You'll get on the right foot. And if you're a more seasoned artist, but you're kind of struggling and you want to up your game, I'm going to show you the simple techniques, very straightforward techniques, so that answers all your questions so you feel like you know exactly what to do with confidence. What makes my workshops unique is that I love to tell you every single step of the way how to make things easy, simple, and fun. The best way I love to teach is to tell you everything. I don't leave anything out, so you will learn step by step exactly how to approach your paintings for success, how to strategize and think through everything, and really have a fun time doing it. In this workshop, we're painting a beautiful shipyard in Easton, Maryland. And I love the shipyard because it has lettering, it has red in the sun, red in the shade. There's a harbor full of boats in the background, but I'm going to show you how to totally simplify it. And there's even a person in it. So we're going to have a great time. Let's loosen up and have some fun, so come join me.
Well, that's a brand new video called Impressionistic Brushwork with Debra Huse. You can learn more about the video at streamline.art. And today only, we have a special discount on that video. If you go into the comments section while you're watching this, get that discount code. Now let's get right to our interview with Debra Huse.
I started painting when I was really young. I was really fortunate to have my mom be a painter and my grandmother also. So they took me to museums when I was 5 and 4 all the time. The Indianapolis Museum, I grew up in Indianapolis. And so I loved the Impressionists, and my mom saw that I wanted to paint, color, draw, everything all the time. So she got me right into professional lessons at probably about 9 or 10. And that woman had me stretch my own canvases and paint still lifes. And I still have those, which is really fun. But after that, I got a neat opportunity. I got to go to college on a scholarship for the summer, and I was only in 6th grade, so I guess I was maybe 11 or 12. and got to take any college courses that I wanted to take. And that was so inspirational and so exciting for me. I got my own locker, and I got to take all kinds of classes from ceramics, printmaking, life drawing, everything you can think of. So that was awesome. I was set from there. My parents were super supportive. I went to Indiana University and studied graphic design and painting. And one good story is in sophomore year, I decided I was going to switch my major to business. And I called my dad, and he said, "What? Absolutely not. You're meant to be an artist." And so he wouldn't let me switch my major. And really, it was only because I didn't want to take the language. So I survived German, I survived French, and kept on painting. After studying at IU, I got to paint with the now famous C.W. Mundy. A lot of you probably know him. And he and I worked together at Champion Illustrated Sports for 3 years in Nashville, Indiana. So that was super cool. And eventually, working in graphic design was a great way to pay the bills and paint. I was painting all along and showing in downtown Indianapolis in the theaters and all sorts of places downtown Indianapolis. And then I got an opportunity to move to California with an art director job. And so I did that. That was super exciting. Still painting all the time. At night, I would come home and I would paint from 8 to 11 in my apartment. And then eventually I was so fortunate to have an office of my own on Balboa Island. And I had a friend named Al Newman. He would write copy and I would do graphic design, and we would buy each other's services and had a nice business going and still painting on site. And then eventually I was able to take over that entire building and open an art gallery, and was first called the Debra Huse Gallery. And I had that for 20 years. During that time, I got to also engage in a lot of plein air events. So I have traveled all over the world to do plein air events. There's many of them, and I've been so fortunate to be able to do that because I could meet artists along the way. You know, artists used to be in their studio and you would never get to meet anybody. And now the plein air events, you have time to hang out with artist friends and really get to know them and learn all about their techniques and what they do and where they advertise and everything. And you also get to meet the collectors from the area, so that's been really fun. So I did that, and also the gallery. So I would have the gallery, and I have some wonderful artists in that gallery. And one day I was having a workshop that I was featuring Carl Dempwolf in a workshop, and he had some students, and one of those students turned out to be very special because she now owns the gallery. This is Lisa Skelly. And we got together. I saw her beautiful paintings and saw what a beautiful spirit and soul she was, and asked her if she'd like to take it forward into the future. Along my painting route, I've been fortunate to have a lot of mentors and a lot of inspiration, as everyone does, I guess, as an artist. But I'm fortunate to have worked with C.W. Mundy very closely. He's a wonderful impressionist, and if you don't know of him, you should look him up. He's a wonderful friend. Also, Ken Oster, the late Ken Oster, was a wonderful painter here in Southern California. I learned a lot from his laying it down and leaving it alone. That's a technique that I use all the time now, that I teach to my students. Nice thick paint and brushstroke next to brushstroke and not on top. And so then, of course, there's the California Impressionists that are so wonderful. Edgar Payne, I just love his boat paintings. Armin Hansen, too, from up by Carmel. He's just a wonderful painter in the museums. His paintings will bring you to tears. They're just gorgeous. And then also Charles Mavalli, who's just passed lately. And he was a marine painter that I just admired so much because his pieces were super loose and they were really fun. And when I was at Easton, Maryland, Cape Ann last year in the plein air event, I was so thrilled and honored to receive the Charles Mavalli Award. So everything that goes around comes around, I guess, and I'm feeling very fortunate. I love to work in oil paint, and there's a really interesting story to that because I worked in pastel for 20 years, and I love pastel too. The raw pigment of pastel is so wonderful, and the layering and the luminosity of pastel. I mean, I'm a signature member of the Pastel Society of America, and that's quite an honor, so I really dove into the pastels. But then when I got tired of not having brushwork, I felt like I just wanted to Well, I was going outdoors to work in plein air, and I was working in pastels outdoors, which was just great. But I just felt like I wanted to have the brush in my hand again, because in college I worked in oil and I worked in acrylic. And so I thought, well, I'll give it a try, and I switched over to the oil paint. And let me tell you, it took me a little learning, and that's what I like to teach in my workshops. But the oil paint is luscious, and I love getting the thick notes. And what I do is I've transferred some of the pastel technique into my oil technique. So I do a lot of underpainting and then overlaying of other colors. So it's kind of a different technique that I have from my pastel background. There's so many subjects that are so wonderful. I mean, I love landscapes, I love seascapes, but to me the ideal subject is old harbors and old boats. I love the idea that the people go out on these boats into the big sea that's so dangerous and can be so life-threatening, and they do that to bring home, spices maybe in the early days, or they take cows from one country to another, or they bring leather from one place to another, and they go out to get us oysters and shrimp and crab and fish and everything. And it's these heart and soul of these people that are on these ships and boats, have been really working hard on our behalf. And I just really think that's quite an honor to get to find an old harbor and an old classic boat of any kind, a working boat I love the most, and capture that in a painting and try to convey the heart and soul of the marine industry. I don't really just paint boats. I paint lots of subjects. That's why I love the plein air events, because it pushes you to go out, find all kinds of neat subjects. There's a place in Oxford, this one old street with an old water tower that I just love. The old houses, the downtowns. I love downtown scenes, night scenes with street lights, reflections. Oh gosh, Southern California, the ocean scenes, the surf down at Laguna Beach is amazing. I mean, there's so many beautiful subjects. The old eucalyptus trees, vineyards, ranches, you name it really, old houses. They're just all such beautiful subjects because the way the light hits them and the way that they all have their own spirit and soul. So I love capturing everything. In most of my earlier career, I painted in my studio or in my apartment or wherever indoors. But there was a few times in college where they had us go out and paint on location. And we went into the greenhouse on IU, at IU, and painted there. And that's a beautiful campus. So that dipped my toe into painting outdoors. When you paint outdoors, you are able to not only experience the beautiful weather, but you're capturing the light, and you can see into the shadows, and you can see exactly what colors. You get so much more nuance, and you get so much more enjoyment out of it, because you can, one time a little fox trotted by, another time a couple of roadrunner birds were watching me darting out from under a bush. In eastern Maryland, the deer come out of the woods all the time. I mean, you see all sorts of wildlife. On Catalina Island, you see buffalo while you're just painting, and they will just appear. And so it really is just wonderful. Not only the beautiful sky, the beautiful smell, the beautiful sounds, but it really completes the entire feeling of getting a beautiful painting and capturing it for everyone to enjoy. The best way, I think, to describe my style of painting would be confident, loose, colorful, and happy. So let me tell you why. I have a lot of techniques, I think, that are a little different from other people because I worked in pastel. So I do a lot of different kinds of layering where I'll put a little dark underneath and then I'll lay lighter color on top, which is fun. But I also reach into the scene, and I try not to let things always be blue and gray or blue and green. Got to find the warms, and so I can translate my values and get my warm colors in there. And my paintings, then, people just always tell me that my paintings are happy, and I think that's because I'm so happy making them. So I think that's how I would describe my style. One thing that makes me a little different from other artists is that I have a little bit of business in me, and I'm not sure where it comes from. It's in my genes. And so I do have an interest in marketing and design, and that led me to have my own gallery. That led me to meet Lisa Skelly, and now we have a gallery together, and so we get to share that. I also have started another thing on Balboa Island where we have 100 artists and 6 bands one day a year, and that's a rock and roll fun fest of art and music. Oh, and a really good thing too is that I have a boat. And I'm so lucky since I love painting boats and I love being on boats and being on the water. Having a boat is a really great thing. And a husband that loves boating and loves art, that's a really great thing. So he and I go out on our sport fishing boat. And when I paint Catalina Island, which is just offshore here, 26 miles, we can take the boat across to Catalina. We can go in and out of the harbors. He'll drop the anchor, I paint, and we all have a great time. So I'm really blessed and feel fortunate to have a boat too. There's a variety of things like that I think just makes me a little different and maybe a little more weird than most artists. People ask me what my secret is to success. And I would say having confidence and having fun. So I like to make sure that whenever I attack a painting, I'm exactly sure what I'm going to do. I've strategized. I lay down the paint with confidence. I have fun doing it, and it shows. And I think that's a big plus. There's a lot of things that go into my technique, which is a little bit different. And I've mentioned before about working with pastel and having the underpainting. But also learning how to use brushes properly really made a big difference in my technique. So I like to share that in my workshops, but quickly I'll just tell you that the short flats are short because they're meant to push into the surface. And the longer brushes, flats, Egberts, filberts, you name it, Rager brushes, are meant to lay paint on top of the surface. And I use that to my benefit, and I think that's made my technique really different. The day in the life of an artist is really different every day. I would say that you have to be on top of things all the time. I'm always thinking about my to-do list. And I do take a tip from my friend Eric Rhodes, and I write down a list every single day, and I go through and check stuff off. So I try to get the work done so that I can get the painting done. And then I get the painting done so I can get the social media done. And so they kind of all wrap together. There's quite a lot involved between entering contests, getting things to your gallery that they need, getting frames that are the right kind of frames and ordering them specifically for a painting, commissions. I mean, there's a lot to be done, so we work very hard. Scenes like this keep me inspired to paint. If you look at the beauty here in Southern California, there's always boats, there's always beautiful weather. Even if it's foggy, it's beautiful. And that is so inspirational. I mean, when the light is raking across the water, raking across the land, the sun is coming up behind the West Maui Mountains in Hawaii. The light is racing across a little street in Oxford, Maryland. All of that is so inspirational. You can't stand it. You have to paint. So I'm happy that that's what I get to do for a job. There's a few tips that I could give other artists to help them reach their goals. And I would say that first and foremost is to learn as much as you can and push yourself to learn new techniques. That is the key. And learning from someone else will make that so much faster. So I suggest workshops for sure. But secondly is just learning to have confidence and keep things simple, keep things fun. The more fun you have, the more it will show. The more you learn, the more it will show. And that will bring you a lot of success. The life of an artist is really wonderful, but you also have to be aware that there's challenges. And there's plenty of times where you're going to hear no, or you're not accepted, or what have you when you enter things. But don't let that stop you. Keep your faith in yourself, keep your confidence, keep moving forward, keep learning, and have a good time.
Well, that is the incomparable Debra Huse. And the video, of course, is called Impressionistic Brushwork. You can learn more about it at streamline.art. And of course, there's a discount on this new release today only in the comments section. Go there for the code. Well, thank you for watching. We'll see you at 3 o'clock next time.
Hi, I'm Debra Huse, and welcome to my workshop. In this workshop, we're going to have a great time. We're going to learn all sorts of really fun techniques and take it easy and get loose with the paint and learn design first and foremost and talk in depth about that. Then I'll show you how I like to scrub in my darks with a short flat brush. Then we'll switch to the long flat. I'll show you how I like to lay my paint on nice and thick and juicy and fill in all of the colors and values, all the big pieces, but with strategy, so you really think about what we're doing. And then in the end, we'll pull it together with my special secret rigger brush. It'll be really fun. This workshop will be perfect for you if you're a beginner. You're going to learn some really new techniques right off the bat. You'll get on the right foot. And if you're a more seasoned artist, but you're kind of struggling and you want to up your game, I'm going to show you the simple techniques, very straightforward techniques, so that answers all your questions, so you feel like you know exactly what to do with confidence. What makes my workshops unique is that I love to tell you every single step of the way how to make things easy, simple, and fun. The best way I love to teach is to tell you everything. I don't leave anything out, so you will learn step by step exactly how to approach your paintings for success, how to strategize and think through everything, and really have a fun time doing it. In this workshop, we're painting a beautiful shipyard in Easton, Maryland. And I love the shipyard because it has lettering, it has red in the sun, red in the shade. There's a harbor full of boats in the background, but I'm going to show you how to totally simplify it. And there's even a person in it. So we're going to have a great time. Let's loosen up and have some fun, so come join me.